in the late 80s, early 90s, there seemed to be no stopping Oliver Stone. With Platoon being such a successful movie, winning all the Oscars, even though Stone had won an Oscar for writing many years before that for Midnight Express. It was Platoon that kind of gave him this podium that he would continue to shout from with his movies over the years, dealing with topics from everything from capitalism to media violence to government conspiracies. No topic closer to his heart, seeing as how he served himself, than the Vietnam War, of course, with Platoon. Heaven and Earth, and the Oscar-nominated Best Picture from 1989, Born on the 4th of July, which is the true story of Ron Kovic, the disillusioned American patriot who came back from the Vietnam War half a man in a literal and figurative sense. This stars Tom Cruise as Ron Kovic, a tremendous performance, one of Tom Cruise's absolute best performance, and so many other great actors in this movie. It is like an episodic kind of journey of Ron Kovic, so we see many different actors appear throughout. Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe from Platoon, they show up in this movie too. We have Kira Sedgwick and so many other actors, even bit parts from John C. McGinley, Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott, and Wayne Knight. So a lot of bit parts that kind of show up, which is kind of cool. And Raymond J. Barry as his father, really great. And this movie, it won Best Director, not Best Picture. Driving Miss Daisy won that year, but Stone came away with another Oscar for this film. His messages aren't exactly subtle, but I guess there's no modesty in subtlety. Not Stone's way, I guess. Now, if I were to introduce anyone to this movie who hadn't seen it before, it would definitely come with a warning, where it's, okay, the first little bit of this movie, it is over the top as fuck. It really is. But it is kind of to drive the point home. It is such a... When it opens, it's just this kind of Norman Rockwell, American picturesque lifestyle with the swelling music and the slow motion and the kid winning a baseball game and fireworks and all that great stuff that is so incredibly over the top. That, as the movie progresses, as we kind of see its seedy underbelly, it really draws you in. But it's a movie that I think requires a little bit of patience, because it is a little bit over the top at first. But that's kind of to drive the point home, I would say. Because in Ron Kovic's mind, I guess, that is how the world is. He is special, he's important, he shares the same birthday as fucking America. He is the Yankee Doodle boy. He is going to go to Vietnam. He is going to serve his country. He's going to get respect as a United States Marine, and he is going to fight those evil communists in Vietnam. It doesn't quite work out that way for him. The movie, unlike Platoon, it definitely doesn't focus on the combat and the day-to-day kind of life in the army. It does deal more with the at-home war that's going on. You could definitely call it that. There are a few scenes where he is out in Vietnam, but they occupy very little of the movie, just enough to get the plot going, where he does get shot and paralyzed, loses the use of his legs. With Platoon, he's kind of been there, done that, showing the grueling battle, grueling combat kind of stuff. So he's not really repeating himself here. This is a completely different type of movie. Very little combat, but it does show in kind of at the start of the second act of the film, just enough to set up kind of where the mindset of the Kovic character would take him, showing just how dizzying this war was, and all the mistakes that can so easily be made. He accidentally, him and his platoon, they shoot up the hut, which they think is Viet Cong, but really just citizens, women and children. How insane it is, how dizzying madness. Did we do that? What the fuck? Just the insanity there that really takes its toll. And in another battle scene, in the haze of the battle, shooting one of his own men and killing one of his own men. So it shows just enough to kind of set up what would later come of the movie and what would later torture Kovic, basically. So this is the first maybe 40 minutes of the movie where it really starts to kind of pick up and develop, is in those scenes at the rehab facility in the Bronx, the Veterans Hospital, which they're just nightmarish scenes. He's still in his patriotic mindset. He's still confident that he's going to persevere and he's going to walk again. But slowly but surely, his dreams die. His American dream dies, and he sees that the country that he's left, that he's defended, maybe not quite as idealistic as he had thought it was. There are issues at home. He's fighting this war out there a million miles away. There's a war at home, as the orderlies tell him in those scenes. All the black orderlies. We don't even have human rights here. Why are we going off fighting there? This is a rich man's war. You can take your Vietnam, you can shove it up your ass, basically. So that kind of sticks with him, and that comes about later in the film. So it is about this gradual disenchantment, this disillusion, where he's struggling with all that, with his ideals, but also with himself physically. He's not a full man anymore. This is driving him insane, so much that his family tries they might to be with him. He has these scenes where he just explodes, and Tom Cruise, he's so good. I mean, maybe the kind of fake mustache stuff doesn't look perfect, but we see kind of beyond that through the performance, and he is just great in this movie, especially in those scenes where he's just about at the tipping point before he goes off into Mexico, where it kind of starts this whole other journey of the film. Waking up the neighbors, yelling, shouting. It's heartbreaking, how heartbroken he is and how disillusioned he is. Talking about his penis, basically. Mom, you said it was a sin to touch it. If only I could. It's off in a jungle somewhere. Thou shalt not kill, Mom. Thou shalt not kill women and children. Don't say penis in this house. Penis! Penis! Big fucking floppy erect penis! I think it's maybe over the top, but good. So that, again, it brings him kind of to the chapter of the movie in Mexico, which is a really good kind of almost like a meditation, kind of like a ponderance kind of scene where he goes far off somewhere where nobody knows him. He's off with the other vets who are also paralyzed, with the Mexican prostitutes, where he does meet the Willem Dafoe character, who's a great character, by the way. And how they get in their scuffles too, kind of fighting over their broken dreams, broken ideals. Willem Dafoe, so great. Always great, Willem Dafoe. Submit this headcanon for your approval, but what if Elias, somehow, in Platoon, he survived that barrage of gunfire. He was picked up and paralyzed and somehow ended up in Mexico. Maybe that's Elias from Platoon. Wouldn't that be something? But anyway, it all kind of it does come together in ways that I think serve true to the character, that bring it in a way that there's no perfect solution to anything, but he does begin to realize that he can still love his country and still trying to make a difference in different types of ways. And there is a very beautiful scene, which by Stone's admission, this is a fabrication, but he did go to visit the family of the man he killed, and looking to alleviate that guilt that's been torturing him for all these years. So that's a great scene, and that's kind of sort of the final chapter of the movie before he kind of moves on to his protesting. So, the final lines here, I feel like I'm finally home. That's great. So it is a character study, though, I mean, it's not a subtle movie. You can accuse Stone of many things. Subtlety is not one of them. But, I mean, at the same time, at least there is some kind of stance to be made. And at least the stance that is made does feel true to the character of this movie and the amazing transformation that Kovic went through. Above all else, this is a character-driven film and a character drama. And Tom Cruise, this is just one of his best performances. He is excellent in this film. One of my favorite Tom Cruise performances, most definitely. He was nominated for an Oscar. Daniel Day-Lewis won, which, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, if you can't beat Daniel Day-Lewis, but definitely one of Cruise's best. The music's in this movie, John Williams, so great. One of my favorite music scores, actually. It is kind of, it fits with the movie, it's kind of over the top. But kind of this weird mesh of, like, you know, almost like a military score, but almost like a Lawrence of Arabia kind of score too. So it's incredible, really. Good visual style to the movie as well. Very different from what we've seen in Platoon. Platoon was really gritty. This one, I mean, we see Stone growing as a filmmaker, kind of more, I don't know, more carefully aligned and orchestrated shots, trying to make it look a little bit better, a little bit broader, because it is kind of an epic story. It's not this intimate kind of grimy battle movie like Platoon is. So I think it is just so well done. And if you haven't seen Born on the 4th of July, definitely check it out. If nothing else, if you're a Tom Cruise fan, you haven't seen this movie, you owe it to yourself to see this movie, because he is fan-fucking-tastic in this movie. So for, you know, all Stone's faults, I think he's a great director. I think, you know, as lacking in subtlety as he is, you know, it's nice that he at least makes a stance that rings true to the characters in the movie. It's better to have maybe an over-the-top stance than none at all. So those are my thoughts on Born on the 4th of July. Should have won Best Picture? Maybe. I think so. I'd say I like this at least better than Driving Miss Daisy. So yeah, great movie. One of Tom Cruise's best. One of Oliver Stone's best. A classic about the Vietnam War. So that's my review. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more 31 Days of Oscar reviews. Plenty more to come. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until then, I'll see you later.